I don't know, but
so I'm just going to go live on my stream. Already got someone there, so I'm going to set it up this way because people can start to see me already. So what I'm gonna do now, so I'm just gonna go on my stream and share this window with them so that they can see us. All right, guys, welcome to whoever's already in the live. Let me just assemble this so you can see Guy as well. You know what we haven't thought about though, Guy? How will people? Yeah, we'll see. We let me check this out, guys. Okay, right. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share my Zoom meeting screen. So now, people should be able to see me 3 times actually. Guys, let me know in the comments if you can hear me as well, if the microphone is fine, and then we need to do another check whether this works the way we want it to, and if you guys are able to hear Guy as well. Guy, can you say something for us?
Hey, everyone.
Okay, guys. Let us know in the comments if you can hear as well, yeah? If you can hear and see us, that's what we need to know first, whether you can also hear Guy when he's talking, because the problem is that YouTube doesn't let you very easily stream 2 streams from 2 channels, basically. It's a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
All right, Ariel says she can hear and see both. And Connor also says he can hear and see both. That's fantastic. Thank you, Connor.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ariel. Thank you for letting us know. Guy, you're also running on your stream. It's all good, set up, it's working?
I hope so. This is the first time, so for me to try to stream it to 2 different channels, so I hope so.
Okay. Well, I'm only streaming to this YouTube channel, and otherwise, I mean, we will have the recording anyways on my channel here. So if there's any hiccups or anything that you need afterwards, I'll send you the recording, and then we should be fine. Yeah, Guy, I mean, we're definitely live on my channel now, so let me take the introduction. I wanted to introduce you to all the people on my channel, and then you can introduce me to all the people on your channel. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Guy. I've been dealing with severe tinnitus and hearing loss for probably close to 15 years. And I went through a lot, which I explain on my channel. And during the last about a year or so, I started to help other people with different hearing health challenges. Of course, including tinnitus, TTTS, and just general hearing challenges that they are experiencing.
Yeah.
Even helping people select the right hearing aids for them so that it will work for them in different situations.
Yeah.
So that is my experience for the last couple of years.
Nice. Great. Thank you for joining us. And you're joining us from the US, right? Where in the US again?
Yes, I'm in the US in Colorado.
Okay.
So higher up than, I guess, most people.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, Jacqueline from Colombia. Bienvenido otra vez, Jacqueline. Hace rato que no te veo. We have someone from Bogota as well joining the stream. Very nice. Okay, perfect.
Nice.
Okay, great. Yeah, then maybe I can introduce myself a little bit to the people on Guy's stream. If they haven't known me yet, if they don't know who I am yet, maybe that's something that I can do quickly. So my name is Frieder. I live in Berlin, in Germany, and my personal story is that I was born deaf in my left ear. So I'm completely deaf in my left ear, never heard anything on that ear. And in my right ear, I have a hearing aid, a severe high-pitch hearing loss, and a tinnitus for the last 16 years. And now my wife is trying to call me, probably because she just got home from work. She's on a business trip in Durban in South Africa. No, she's on a business trip in South Africa right now. So I think she forgot the time zone differences. And usually I go live an hour earlier. So that's probably why okay. Anyways, back to my introduction. So I've had tinnitus since I was 19. That's 16 years now this year. And yeah, like 6 years ago, I started working as a coach. I was inspired by Glenn Schweitzer's work from Rewiring Tinnitus, because Glenn was already a coach, I think already a few years when I started, and I was really inspired by his work. So yeah, 6 years ago, I started coaching people, and 3 years ago now, I started a community, mytinnitus.club, where we have like online membership programs as well as weekly coaching sessions, and everything is a little bit rooted in behavioral sciences and acceptance and commitment therapy, which, by the way, I recently published a video, is also what the German treatment plan says. When you look at the German treatment indication for chronic tinnitus, it says, excuse me, tinnitus is best treated with acceptance and commitment therapy and cognitive behavior therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to say, I have to admit that you inspired me in some ways, because I was watching, your information coming in through different ways. And I have to say that the reason I really wanted to work with you is because what you were doing and what you are doing was inspiring me as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you as well for what you're doing. I always think it's very important that, more people get into the space, and we have so many people dealing with tinnitus and so many people having really big troubles and difficulties with it, so that we absolutely can't have enough people in this space who support people with tinnitus, But I think you have you had some questions that you wanted to jump in today. Let me pull those up quickly, and then we can go through those and answer one by one, maybe, huh? What do you think?
Yeah, that would be great. These are just the most common questions that I get.
Yeah.
Like one of the most common questions people ask me all the time. Oh, they see my information that I share, and they say, "Oh, I have tinnitus for 10 years now. I'm gone. There's no hope for me." And it's really, it's I just find that interesting that people think that way, because they don't have enough information. And it's really it's really good to tell them, no, you're wrong. You can get relief, and you can make progress, and you can get to the point where the tinnitus is not bothering you anymore. So it's really a moment. Sorry, I cannot answer the question while I'm asking the question, but that was the question that people ask me all the time.
Yeah. So I think what's crucial is that, knowing that people who do not habituate, even after a decade, as you just said, are stuck in a cycle. And it is a vicious cycle of thoughts and feelings that are directly fed back into a feedback loop, where the brain believes that these thoughts and feelings that they have are caused by the tinnitus. No, they are caused by your reaction to the tinnitus, not by the sound itself. A sound itself cannot cause the release of cortisol, the fight or flight instinct. It is by you relating to that in that way. And if you suffer from tinnitus for years and even for decades, then the only reason why you keep suffering, why you don't habituate, or why you haven't habituated yet, is because you haven't been able to get out of the spiral in which thoughts influence feelings, and then when you have these feelings, they create this feedback loop in your brain, and then the brain's saying, "Excuse me, guys, I'm having sparkling water." Not the best thing to drink while you're doing a live stream,
Exactly.
I think. But anyways,
exactly.
but that cycle is exactly where people get stuck. And then the problem is, when we see their research, there's some research. I have this recently with coaching clients as well. They say, "Hey, but there's a study. It says 80% of the people habituate and 20% doesn't." And then I say, well, what study says that? And what do the other 20%, are they watched for another 5 years, or have they tried all of these other things? And why would that be 20%? It's not true. 100% of people can habituate to tinnitus if they learn the right thing of getting into interrupting this loop and learning what they need to learn in order to recognize what's keeping that negative reactive loop of fight or flight alive, and how to get out of it.
Exactly. And so the first thing that I do in those cases is ask them, what have you done so far to try to deal with the tinnitus? And typically in those cases of those kind of people that ask that question, they say, well, I didn't know I can do something about tinnitus. And that's when we start talking about, okay, so let's have a plan and start working on that. And exactly what you're just saying is just start disconnecting that feedback loop from your stress. You're stressing about tinnitus and you're creating tinnitus, basically. Or you're creating the stress around tinnitus, I should say. So yes, exactly. Yeah.
And that, of course, is a self-perpetuating loop, and it doesn't only work with tinnitus that way, but we see it that it works in depression, it works in anxiety, it works in insomnia, it works in so many different, let's say, psychologically based ailments, that not the condition itself is the problem, but the way we relate and how that creates a vicious cycle. Also, the same with chronic pain. When we see chronic pain patients, we see a lot of people getting relief from neuroplasticity-based approaches of teaching the brain how to relearn a response to a stimulus, and that is absolutely possible with tinnitus.
Exactly. And then the first thing that I ask the people that are coming with that kind of question is like, do you know what's causing your tinnitus? And actually, I should say, first of all, I explained exactly what you just kind of explained, that tinnitus is really just a symptom of something else. It's not the cause. So it's a symptom of something that's going on with your body. And you may actually, in some cases, you may be able to identify the cause and stop it from creating tinnitus. That's typically with things like medication or other things that are not hearing loss. So 90%, they say that around 90% of people that have tinnitus, the source of that is hearing loss. And then for that big group, of course, we have to start working on habituating tinnitus and stop that stress cycle that just makes you pay attention to it too much. And to really realize that tinnitus is not a threat. It cannot do something and it cannot hurt you. You just need to learn to ignore it.
Yeah. The problem is, yes. Yeah. Can I just say one sentence in between? Sorry. Do you mind if I just throw one sentence in? I think you're absolutely 100% correct here. Tinnitus itself is not harmful or dangerous, but the way you feel about it feels so harmful and dangerous that it's only normal that you're struggling with it. So first of all, you need to understand and validate your struggle. So it is absolutely normal. Tinnitus itself is a benign body symptom that, yes, it's not dangerous. You're 100% right. But this is not to say, however, that the way you feel about your tinnitus and this fight or flight is feeling very bad, and therefore it's very normal that you try all these different methods to get rid of it, to do stuff, but often what that does, it just puts you further down, because all of these results will be, you will be more paying attention on your tinnitus because all of the stuff hasn't worked. Because if your objective is getting rid of it, then you're always going to fail, and that's always going to make your reactivity worse, and therefore your tinnitus louder. Sorry for interrupting, but I thought that was important for me.
No. This is perfect. And so really the next question that people ask me is like, what is the cause of tinnitus? And that's when we kind of go on a small exploration, and I'm asking him about a bunch of questions about the medical condition or medical history, because the reason I want to just clarify that there are a few different reasons that could cause tinnitus that you can actually eliminate. And these are, again, like medication that you may be taking, or allergy that you have, or other diseases that you may have and you're not even aware of, that can cause tinnitus. And if you take care of that cause, you will get rid of tinnitus. Now, again, this is a smaller group, and most of us that have tinnitus it's coming from hearing loss, and we need to work on ignoring tinnitus and habituate it and learn to kind of just put it to the side.
Yeah.
But I just want people to understand that there are those cases.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, if it's okay with you, I have a free ebook that I wrote that kind of explain all those things, and I'm willing to definitely share it if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
I'll share it in my the description below of the, below the video. But, just there are those cases we can just eliminate tinnitus. Now, the rest of us that have hearing loss and tinnitus, we need to learn to habituate it and go through the process where we just understand that tinnitus is not a threat, sorry, and then how to just learn to put it aside and focus on your life.
Yeah. So I think there's like a couple of components for the causes that I would just briefly add. I mean, everything you said is absolutely correct. I would just briefly maybe say that there are, of course, distinctions between hearing loss, right? Hearing loss that needs treatment, so clinical hearing loss, or just by subclinical hearing loss that needs treatment, where an indication of a hearing aid could be important, is something that people should obviously check with their ENT or audiologist. But then, of course, there's also hearing loss that doesn't show on the normal audiogram, because the normal audiogram is always only the speech audiometry to like 8 to 10 kilohertz, and then the hearing loss can start at already 15 kilohertz, and that can cause tinnitus. So we have to distinguish between two different types of hearing loss, because there's a lot of people say, my ENT says I don't have any hearing loss, but I still have tinnitus. And then I always say, yes, you can still have hearing loss, but you have hearing loss in certain frequencies that are not relevant for speech understanding. So these are the things. And then you are right. There are some very rare cases in which medication or TMJ or some other things really exacerbate tinnitus and can lead to a big increase. And then once people get rid of this substantial cause, they can get better with their tinnitus. That's absolutely true. But for most people, it is of course this hearing loss-based tinnitus, and that is basically best dealt with, as we see, with acceptance and commitment therapy and cognitive behavior therapy, and telling the person that they need to understand this stress cycle, and telling them that the way they feel about their tinnitus is absolutely normal, and that's why they're stuck in this loop, but then giving them the right strategies to get out of this loop. And absolutely happy to post your ebook also under the video afterwards. And just quickly getting into some stuff that people say. Marius, hi. Yeah. Marius also asks, is it on purpose that I appear in two windows? Yes, because there was no other way for us to organize this. So I'm live on my live stream in that little window, and then I'm sharing my screen through Zoom, so you guys can also hear and see Guy. But it's not optimal.
I apologize to your viewers and my viewers. My setup today is just not ideal, and I promise I will fix it for the next time.
It's all good. No worries at all. That's why. And yes, of course, we encourage people to send us questions. I think you had one or two more questions, Guy, that we wanted to dive into today. But of course, as soon as you guys have questions, drop them in the comments, and then we'll be answering them. And as usual, the recording of this live stream is always accessible afterwards, and I'm sending it to my email list, etc. as well, so everyone can access that afterwards as well if they have missed anything today. Exactly. What else do we have, Guy?
So that is my problem. My setup is so bad right now. I'm trying to go in secretly.
I have the third question. Should I read it?
I think one of the questions was how to deal with spikes and prevent spikes.
Exactly. That's a good one.
So the first thing, you need to understand what can cause spikes. And spike can be caused by food that you eat, by medication that you take, by stress. If you're stressed at work or family life, that can immediately make tinnitus worse. So again, things like stress, medication, food, all can create spikes in tinnitus. And the way I dealt with this myself over the years is, well, stress, it's kind of simple and complicated, right? Because stress, typically for everybody, it's coming from a complex situation, like either at work or life. But when it comes to stress, you really need to learn techniques that works for you to calm down and push out the stress away from you and deal with it in a better way, which again, we can talk about this for probably a long time. But when it comes to food and medication, the good news about that is that you can create, what I've done myself is create a really simple log, not complicated, just a piece of paper, or if you want on the computer, whatever works for you. You just create a log and say, whenever you start to take a new medication or start consuming new foods and drinks, just write it down. Just say the date and what you're taking. And if you notice 2 or 3 days later, or maybe sometimes a few hours later, that your tinnitus started to spike and it consistently spiking for as long as you are taking that new medication or food, then you realize that that could be the cause for it. So you stop it and you see if the tinnitus is, if the spikes are now calming down and going away. And if that's the case, you just identified a source for spikes. So just keeping a really simple log, wherever you start taking new things, that's the way to deal with more spikes. And of course, stress is just managing stress, which again, we can talk about it if we have time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are in a place where, you know, everyone uses different techniques and suggests different things. Me personally, I recommend it a little bit different, but I'm going to tell you why. My approach is stress is unavoidable. You're going to be stressed in life, family stuff, work stuff. It's unavoidable that you're going to be stressed. And if you have a shitty diet, sorry for the bad language, then go and change your bad diet. That's really important. Go and change your bad diet. If that's the reason for your tinnitus, go and change your diet now. So the people who have a bad diet, they know it and they know they have to do something about it. And if they need to move more, they need to move more. But apart from that, I say the problem with making us feel like we have some control over managing tinnitus, even spikes. I get spikes sometimes as well. Like, because I'm sitting on the desk and sometimes my position is bad. Sometimes I don't sleep so well. Have a cup of coffee too many. I used to sometimes have, back when I was still drinking alcohol, I don't drink alcohol anymore, but when I had a beer too much with a friend or something, then I used to get a spike as well next day. However, my way of dealing with it was not avoiding these things, but to saying stress is absolutely normal in life. Of course, you should try to reduce it if somehow possible. And even more importantly, use techniques that can maybe ground your nervous system, like meditation, yoga nidra, progressive muscle relaxation, that when you are in a heightened stress period, you can keep that go down with the stress level. But stress in and of itself is absolutely normal. And this suggestion that we can somehow control our tinnitus at all times is a problematic one, in my opinion, because it suggests that, we can do something about our tinnitus. Most of the time we can't, and we have to make a conscious choice. Do I want to drink that cup of coffee or have that glass of wine with my good friend? And if I do, then I can say, okay, well, and I will deal with the consequences. And if the consequences mean that I have a bit of a spike, then that's fine, because I'm accepting that. And I'm doing this because it gives my life value, rather than, limiting my life to the brink of extinction just in order to somehow try to control my tinnitus, and then getting super upset if my tinnitus still spikes. So my approach is a little bit different. I say, like, it's not about getting rid of stress. It's not about never eating junk food anymore. It's about being mindful of this and knowing where your spike came from. And my personal tip for spiking: when my spike gets so loud that I barely hear anything, I cancel all my meetings. I sit down in my play seat, I turn on the PlayStation, and I play Gran Turismo 5 for a few hours until I feel better.
I love what you just said, that accepting that spikes are coming and just understand that and accept it. This is a really good perspective, so thank you. But I was just kind of thinking what to do when you get spikes that you don't expect. But of course, one of the things that I say to people that work with me is that exactly what you just said, is that you need to maintain, in general, you need to maintain good quality life, right? You need to maintain good diet. Of course, you can, every once in a while, you can go and eat whatever you want, but in general, at a high level, you want to maintain a good diet, good exercise, and all that kind of stuff. I know that people don't like to hear that, but it just helps your body be stronger and more resilient for tinnitus and stress and all other things. So, like, one of the things that I'm kind of fighting with some people is smoking, because smoking actually, it was researched and proven to spike and create tinnitus in many cases. It doesn't, again, nothing is 100% for everyone, but for many people, smoking did increase tinnitus spikes. And so one of the things that is really hard for someone like me to say to someone is, hey, you need to maybe consider stop smoking.
Yeah.
And of course, it's up to them if you want to take their advice or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do know that smoking is one of the most ototoxic things that you can do to your ears. And there's huge research that the reason why tinnitus spikes when smoking is because the blood vessels from the nicotine get contracted, and then the blood flow in the inner ear is severely hindered. And that's why people who smoking is one of the best ways to lose your hearing very early. So there are studies out there and that tell us that, the more you smoke, the more you are at risk of getting early onset hearing loss, the more you are at risk of developing tinnitus, and the more you are at risk, of course, when you already have tinnitus, to be spiking it. And that's simply due to the fact, because what do they also do? Like, what do they used to do when people got sudden hearing loss and sudden onset tinnitus? They used to do high doses of cortisone into the inner ear, into the tympanic membrane, or oral doses of cortisol, which had to be super high because the blood vessels inside the inner ear are so small to reduce the inflammation. And the problem with this is the same thing with the smoking. The blood vessels in the inner ear are so small, and when you do smoke, they get even more contracted, and then not enough blood reaches the inner ear. Therefore, the hearing loss that you do rack up is a lot more potent. That's why, of course, I mean, not only for your hearing, giving up smoking is always a good idea, right?
Exactly. I'm happy to see I mean, it's kind of good to hear you say that, because that's really something that is hard to, when you work with people that suffer from tinnitus and have spikes. It's something that is always a kind of a high tension item to work with them. But some people, they listen and they understand and they look at the research that's been done by the medical community, and then they make a decision, whether they want to stop or continue. It's up to them, of course.
I have one question from Connor. Connor said in the chat, alcohol reduces his tinnitus. And he assumes that that's the relaxing effect. And yeah, I would absolutely go with that. I mean, alcohol is also part of a sedative. It can be a sedative, can be a stimulant. People react differently to it. For some people, it spikes tinnitus, especially the day after because of dehydration, for example. And for some people, it makes them hear that tinnitus less. There's also research that, for example, some psychedelic drugs such as LSD or psilocybin makes tinnitus disappear for a while. But I mean, it's a little bit difficult to be on psilocybin or LSD and live a normal life the whole time. So better not recommend that, right? And it's still a class 1 drug in most countries, so better not recommend that.
If you have questions from your audience, definitely happy to.
I think for now we've had that one on the alcohol, and I mean I get all of those questions that you've mentioned before. Like those are the most frequent ones. A lot of people also ask me like what habituation feels like, and I mean I can only continue to state that the way habituation feels like is that it doesn't matter that you have tinnitus anymore. It's like, if you experience it, but it doesn't matter to you, it doesn't bother you, then that is what habituation feels like. And that's what I want to encourage people. Everyone can reach that. Yes, it's a little bit more work than just putting in hearing aids and turning on sounds the whole time. But, there's really nothing against that. And just one question, Connor says, are there standout foods that we should avoid? What would you say to that, guy? What foods should people be avoiding? What do you think from your perspective?
This is highly personal. I mean, I can tell you from my experience working with people that some people will respond to coffee, like, it creates tinnitus spikes. But, I myself am a coffee drinker, and that does not create any spikes for me. So this is really highly personal. This is where my idea of a log, or my approach for a log, is the way I would recommend that you find out what are those foods and drinks for you.
Yeah.
So, but common things out there that you hear about, sort of food is like salty stuff, coffee, alcohol, things like that. But in my opinion, you should make that log and log it, and then you will find out if it really causing you spikes or not. That's really my approach.
Yeah. No, sure. I would just like say in general, I mean, be smart with what you eat, right? So highly processed foods are never a good idea, to be honest. Like everything that has more than that needs more than 5 ingredients basically, and has all these like different additives and stuff. That stuff is just not out of nature, and it can't be good if that's the only thing you eat. So try to have your veggies and your normal intake of fruit. And then obviously what I can always say, like one of the biggest crises, for example, the diabetes and sugar crisis in Mexico is caused by sugary drinks. And not even the food, right? Everyone thinks that, oh yeah, they eat tacos the whole day. Yeah, but that's not what's causing diabetes. What's causing diabetes is they have the tacos and they have 3 liters of Coke with it, because 3 liters of Coke is cheaper than 3 liters of water. Or at least it was back when I lived in Mexico City for a while. And back then, 3 liters of Coke were cheaper than 3 liters of water. So it is quite important, right? Just stick to, just a little bit of juices, or like just plain water or something like that, and just see how you do, right? And then just be sensible about your diet. Try to eat like some food that are good with you, that resonate with you, that that you can cook yourself. It's not difficult to throw a few potatoes in a pot and boil them and eat them with a little bit of salt and a little bit of butter, and put a broccoli on the side. And I like to eat tofu or something like that, and fry some tofu up. I also like a steak once a month or something like that, or some fish. But I mean, just be sensible, right? And just stay off the highly processed stuff if you think that you can do that for a while, right? And if then things get better, you found out and eliminated that something was actually causing your tinnitus to be higher. But if not, then yes, of course, reintroduce like, having some crisps on the couch on the weekend when you're watching a movie or something like that. Just not all the time. Yeah.
This goes exactly to the, in general, just live a healthy, quality life.
Yeah.
So it's what you eat and what you do exactly. Yeah. Frieder, there was one topic that I wanted to actually talk with you, with the audience, of course, which is the sound therapy. And maybe you can share with us, because I learned from you that what the German ENT Association, I'm not sure what the name is, but what the conclusion for sound therapy, and I think it was sound therapy and TTRT, right? And maybe we could talk about sound therapy for a second, because I do want to explain something about how I use sound therapy.
Sure. So the German ENT Association does not recommend sound therapy in the long run, because sound therapy, what it does is basically it masks your tinnitus, and it is not recommended for long-term tinnitus treatment. And what it does with the masking, doesn't only mask your tinnitus, but it also masks your negative reactivity. And when it masks your negative reactivity, then you can't really expose yourself and slowly but steadily learn that tinnitus is a benign body symptom, that your thoughts and feelings about it are absolutely valid, but they don't need to be such an overshoot reaction all the time. So they explicitly mentioned that acceptance and commitment therapy and CBT are much more powerful tool to aid and to get to habituation in the long run, because sound therapy in essence is, you don't avoid tinnitus, you avoid the thoughts and feelings that go with tinnitus. That's what you do with sound therapy. And that in the long run will not habituate you and help your brain to create a relationship with tinnitus where it learns that tinnitus in essence is not dangerous.
Yes, and I agree with that, and I want to explain how I use sound therapy. So first of all, sound therapy, you cannot expect habituation if you only use sound therapy. And that's probably where I'm assuming that I need to read what the German ENT Association actually wrote, but I think that's probably at least one of the problems, that people use only sound therapy and they expect that the relationship with tinnitus will change, and that is the biggest mistake. And what I do and what I recommend to my people that work with me is that they combine sound therapy with other techniques like CBT. CBT is probably probably one of the strongest way to complement sound therapy and actually achieve habituation. And there's, of course, other techniques that you can, in the toolbox that you have, there's a few techniques, and if you combine them together, that's how I get to habituation and how I got some people to habituation. Um, but I want to explain that sound therapy, in my opinion, is important because some days, let's say that you're going through a hard day and tinnitus is just like really spiking and it's really interrupting your day. What I found for myself, and it works for other people too, is that you use tinnitus to just distract your brain at that moment from, sound therapy to distract your brain from tinnitus, not as a tool to habituate at that moment, but just to distract you and maybe listen to something more calm. And it could be even music. It doesn't have to be sound therapy like white noise or pink noise. It could be just music that has some components of sound therapy in them. That I use that a lot actually.
But then you need to be
Yeah,
careful because then you're not talking about sound therapy, then you're talking about sound enrichment or temporary sound relief. Sound therapy, if you go by classical audiological definition, is the use of constant background noise, not over the tinnitus volume, but I think 5 to 7 dB below the tinnitus volume, to constantly have a background noise. And that's sound therapy. What you describe is more like sound enrichment, which I absolutely am not against. And I say, if someone can't sleep without having some sounds on, because that's the only way they will be able to sleep, then by all means, they need to do that. They can still learn acceptance and commitment therapy and learn how to rewire their brain to respond to tinnitus differently, even while they do sound enrichment in certain situations. I absolutely say that as well. So I absolutely agree. But then we have to be careful about what kind of definitions we use, because the audiological definition of sound therapy is a constant stimulation with sound in the background. And many people, and the German ENT guidelines say that is counterproductive because you already have a sound in your ear that's too much for you. Now you're going to put more sounds and you want to hear people, you want to be at work, you want to do this. Why would you add more and more and more stuff to your sound environment? It's going to be making everything much more harder for your brain.
Yes, of course. So what I'm talking about, of course, by the way, sound therapy is always lower than your tinnitus volume. So you never try to mask your tinnitus with sound therapy. That's definitely not what I'm saying. You would definitely use that lower than your tinnitus volume, and you would typically use that when you're by yourself. So you're trying to focus walking, and tinnitus is bothering you, just a way to distract your brain from tinnitus. And then I definitely have limits. I'm not going to sit there and listen to sound therapy for 5 hours, because then I'm just going to create more tinnitus for myself. So I'm talking about listening to short period of time, maybe a few times a day, is the way I use it.
Yeah, Glenn has a very interesting insight, and I think you can combine everything. So Glenn from Rewiring Tinnitus was a dear friend of mine by now as well, and he's been on his channel previously as well. He has exposure-based therapy where you basically meditate to your tinnitus, and then by meditating to your tinnitus, you change the emotional effect, right? Because your brain learns, oh, I'm really relaxed and I'm listening to it, and nothing actually happens. So I think, if you just pick all of these different tools from all of these different modalities, you can get a very good result. And I always say, be compassionate with yourself. So inside the club, for example, we do monthly topics, and we had the last year, I think in June or July, we did a whole month of self-compassion. It's incredibly important that you acknowledge that this is really difficult. It's normal, right? It's really difficult, not only for you, but for a lot of people. And it's normal that you deal in this with this way. But you need to learn how to respond to this cycle and to interrupt this cycle in order to get better and to habituate. But it doesn't say that you should, push all tools away and just listen to your tinnitus 24/7, because that's also probably not going to get you to the desired result. So in general, I say tinnitus is an individual, as a person who deals with it. And in my coaching program, for example, it's very important to tailor that exactly to the person. I think you're doing the same. And then in our community, we have, for example, the group coachings, or the place where people, can connect with each other and then see what resources best resonate with them, because not everything is going to work for everyone, right?
That is such a good point. If you see my videos, you will hear me say that so many times, that tinnitus is so individual. I mean, what's causing you the tinnitus is individual, and how you deal with it is individual.
Yeah.
And so it's really important for any coach that work with someone that has tinnitus to understand them and create a program that works for them specifically. So yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. All right, nice. My club, Marius asked whether my club is always open. Yes, the club is always open 24/7 at www.mytinnitus.club. You can check it out. It is 24/7. It's an online club with lots of resources. I think I have about 200 plus videos, 4 plus courses, plus weekly coaching sessions. And of course, I'm not online 24/7, because I need my 6 to 8 hours of sleep. But yes, the club is always open. The resources are always able to be consulted in there if people need it. And I think that's what's most important, right? And Guy, I just want to say this, not because it's like advertising in my club, but I think people really need to hear this. And probably you're going to do this or doing this in your coaching already as well. The most important thing for people with tinnitus is that they feel heard and validated. And all of these treatments, so for example, getting sent sound therapy hearing aids for thousands of dollars while people have no indication for hearing aids, is bogus, and it's money making, and it's a scheme, and it's not something ethical. That's the first thing. The second thing, much better are CBT courses conducted by video and so on, and getting an app or something like that. But it can never replace you connecting with a human being at the other end who understands what you're going through. And this is what you get when you sign up for coaching, either with Guy or with me, or you come into the club and meet up with other people, not face-to-face, but at least through Zoom, for example, and you really feel like something is changing and shifting just because you feel validated and other people are going through exactly the same that you're going through. And that's not happening either by putting in hearing aids and listening to sound therapy all the time, or by just doing a course where you simply watch some videos and do some exercises.
I completely agree. But for me, just a personal comment here. If you happen to have family or friends that can support you, that is huge. For me, my wife was the person that encouraged me to start taking care of my hearing loss and tinnitus and stuff. She really motivated me to start dealing with this instead of just kind of ignoring it. And I completely agree with what you say. It's so important to create personal connections that you feel heard, and that you feel that somebody is understanding you and you can share what you feel. Yeah, that's totally true, completely.
All right, Guy, I will have to run soon because I'm going to have to do one more thing before I sign off on holiday at 6 p.m. in a couple of minutes. But I think this was a great work. So I think, let me say, Connor is saying, although people love a good idea to check for possible triggers. Yeah. I think in the end, what you just said, Guy, and what I said is really true. People need to be validated, feel heard. So it's a good place to not only, you know, we're not only creating videos and doing educational content, but we're also building connection between people and to help people feel less lonely with this condition. And I think that's what you're doing with your channel. That's what I'm doing with my channel. And I think that's really, really important. People feel heard, they feel understood. And that in and of itself can already hugely improve the distress that they're experiencing. Because, you know, if doctors out there say there's nothing you can do, live with it, then that's the one thing. And if people always suggest, if you leave out coffee and do X, Y, Z, then it's going to go away. No. And then, you know, one thing that one person says, oh, I'm taking vitamin B12 now and it's been getting better. Well, yeah, then that has maybe worked with one person, but maybe that wasn't even the vitamin B12. Maybe they had less stress, and you will never be able to isolate that causal connection immediately. So we have to go at a personal introspection of why a person deals with tinnitus, how they deal with tinnitus, and most of it is what the anxiety and the emotional connection with that tinnitus is, in order to get better with that, and not say, well, you know, if I maybe get vitamin B12 in and this and that, and, you know, then it will get better. And Emma, we talked about this on the live stream, you know, doing a log or a diary. Yes, you know, but in general, if you're not eating anything and you have no known food allergy, trying to always eliminate and find things that may or may not do something with your tinnitus, then that's just Sisyphus work. You're just going to roll up that boulder up the hill and be disappointed that it's still spiking and going up and down sometimes. And acceptance and commitment therapy and CBT offer a completely different approach and saying it's normal that you have difficult thoughts and emotions about your tinnitus, and those are not the problem, right? And it's the way you relate to them. And that's really what we teach and what I coach in my coaching program and the community. And I think, Guy, probably the same that you do as well.
Yes, yes. And again, I just want to say one aside, my apologies for my setup. It's really bad, but it's really nice opportunity to do this live stream with you. And I hope we can do more. I think it's a great conversation between two people that have been in this for many, many years and are now trying to help other people deal with tinnitus and habituate it and keep living their lives in a productive way. So it's awesome to meet all of you, and thank you for everything.
Absolutely. Same to you, Guy. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for taking the time to come on to the live stream today. Guys, if you want to continue chatting, you can do that in the community tab on my YouTube stream, on my YouTube channel. The same probably for your audience, Guy. And then we'll be leaving the links and resources with everyone afterwards. I think what we can just do, I can just share your hearing care channel. There you go. So you guys can check his channel out as well. I can put that in my comments.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll do the same thing on my side. I just hope that the stream is actually working on my channel, but I'll do the same thing. And I'll share the link to the free book if you guys want it, and if it's okay with you. And then always, by the way, the one thing I would just say, last thing, if you have any questions, feel free to just message me any way that you want. I'm always happy to answer questions.
All right. Perfect. Thanks for your time, Guy. And we'll chat soon, okay?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for joining the stream. I'm going to end it now. Okay, guys. See you soon.